This recording is going to cover what we would do in class today, which is lesson 5.2, Communication in Relationships. Step 1 of your lesson is to read over the PowerPoint for chapter 2, section 3, which we will do here together. And then there's a video for you to watch and some questions to respond to. So let's get into this communication in relationships. So the importance of communication in relationships. It is so important to have open communication. This helps people learn about themselves and about others. It helps people to express their feelings to others and leads to stronger, richer, more satisfying relationships. So when you're able to talk to the people in your life, it makes your life so much easier. So we'll talk about what that means. So, communicating positive feelings. When you are, a member of a community, whether it be at work or in, a group that you are in, it is important to communicate positive feelings. This leads to these good relationships that we talked about. So, again, what does that mean? Whenever you meet someone, say hello. This seems like a very basic rule, but it is something that I've noticed people aren't as good at as you would think. Instead of just ignoring someone when you're walking down the hall or seeing them, just say hi. It doesn't hurt anything, even if you don't know the person. It's okay. Say hi to them. Offer praise and compliments when deserved. Everybody likes to hear that they're doing a good job or that you like something about them. So doing that can lead to these positive relationships. Defend people who are victims of gossip. Nobody likes to be talked about in a negative manner. People will certainly speak highly of you if you are someone who speaks up and defends people, and additionally don't join in on gossip as well. Smile and look happy. Being positive is infectious, so when you do it, other people will too. Look people in the eyes when you talk to them, and show concern by asking others about matters that are important to them. Again, people like to, they like to talk about themselves and like to know that other people are interested in them. So that's an important thing as well. Barriers to open communication. 4 really important barriers are stereotypes, prejudices, mixed messages, and gender differences. We'll talk about each of these in more detail. Good listeners ignore stereotypes and allow people to communicate as individuals. We learned in the last lesson that one of the things about communication is you need to not just be a good speaker, but also a good listener. And if you already come in with preconceived notions about someone, it doesn't allow you to be a good open listener. People with prejudices may have negative attitudes and exhibit negative behaviors. These negative attitudes and behaviors can set up barriers and prevent good communication. Decode mixed messages according to the situation and the person's tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language. So when you understand and you hear someone speaking, but you can tell that their nonverbal communication, which you also learned about in the last lesson, is saying something different, you're able to decode these barriers, or these mixed messages, and that takes down one of those barriers for you. Additionally, gender differences can create barriers to communication. They can be related to role expectations or patterns of socially accepted behaviors. Not all people subscribe to these same gender roles, and so that can be a barrier as well. Role expectations can create confusion and disagreement. So again, it's just really important to be open and to come into any interaction you have with an open mind. When you have negative feelings, communicate them in a useful and constructive way. When you can see the body language of the people in this photo. When you keep things to yourself like this, nobody knows. Nobody is a mind reader. They can't just magically understand what it is that you're upset or angry about. So communicate those in an effective way, in a constructive way, without yelling or accusing. Just tell the people who you are in a disagreement with the way that you feel, and that's going to open up that barrier that you might have there. Discuss your negative feelings with the person whose behavior is bothering you. Again, they're not a mind reader. You have to tell them. Do not reopen old resolved issues. So if you talk through a situation with someone and they understand that something that they did offended you or upset you, and you have resolved those issues, it's important that you keep those things resolved and aren't trying to just open up these old issues. Discuss the problem without making nasty comments. So again, try and settle these disputes or disagreements in a respectful manner. Recognize your own faults and accept them. This is something that is very difficult for people. Nobody likes to hear that they were wrong or that they did something that was wrong or bad, but it is important that you take ownership of your shortcomings. Everybody makes mistakes sometimes, and if you accept them and can truly move on from them, you will end up much happier in the long run. Help people see that you like them even if you don't like their behavior. So again, everybody makes mistakes, and that's okay. And having someone in your life who can see past those things is really helpful and special. And so if you could be that for someone, I know that they would appreciate that. And try to end on a positive note. So when handling these negative feelings, understand that it is uncomfortable for everyone involved. So try and end on something positive. Communication in the workplace. I think this is something that everyone can use, because you will eventually be in some sort of workplace in the future. Maybe some of you are already, and so this is going to be really good information for you. When you eventually do get a job, or again, if you already have one, you probably know this, you're going to work with people who are diverse or who are different from one another. Everybody has a different background and everybody has different styles of communication. A person's background and culture can impact their communication style. So you might think that someone is, being dismissive or being rude or something. That might just be their background and, how they were raised, or maybe it's their culture. So that's something you need to keep in mind and try not to take personally. At work, the goals of communication are to pass along information and to build effective work relationships. So keep those things in mind. A helpful piece of information to kind of make your work life a little bit easier and to make yourself more productive. Keep conversations unrelated to work at a minimum. You want to have fun and socialize when you're at work, especially, if you work a part-time job and you're working with your friends. But it is important to remember that you're being paid to do a job and that it's not social hour for you, again, even if you're working at the mall with your friends. Show courtesy to customers and clients. Use good listening skills. Remember from the lesson prior to this, hearing is not the same as listening. So use those good listening skills we talked about. Don't use slang, especially if you're working with the public. You want to present yourself professionally. If a misunderstanding occurs, discuss it with the person involved. Again, it doesn't do anyone any good to keep it bottled up and to be angry about it. Discussing it in a professional way is the way to go. Okay, so that is the information for today. The next thing that you will do is watch this video that is linked to your lesson. So it is how to have better communication skills, just about 4 minutes long, so it's a pretty quick video. And then once you're done with that short video, you'll respond to the discussion questions below here by adding a private comment on today's lesson. So name one way to communicate negative feelings. And 2, what makes communication in today's workplace challenging? So you're going to, again, respond to those 2 questions by adding a private comment. And after you have done that, you are done with today's lesson.